So I have one question for you this morning. Is there anybody in the room who wants to go to Mars? Raise their hand. Oh, we have a few. Today, do you know what your odds are of doing that? Well, how many people in the room have won the lottery? Let's see. Don't see any hands. Your odds today of even going to space are about 4 orders of magnitude worse than winning the lottery. Okay? 544 people have flown in space if you would count those who've done it suborbitally. Do the math. You know, TED Talks are supposed to be about ideas we're sharing, and I want to share an idea with you. I want to tell you how you can change that. I want to tell you how you, and only you, have to change that. And I'm going to tell you that from the people who were not Space 2.0 or 2.5, but Space 1.0. In the book Dr. Space by Bob Ward, on page 15, about 3/4 of the way down the page, on my copy, it's highlighted in yellow. In the spring, I think it was, of 1930, von Braun actually went to study under his mentor, Herman Olbroth, who was a visionary of space. He was Space 1.0. He was who led to the first rockets. He was a member of the German Rocket Society, the VFR. He was ahead of his time, and he said there are 4 things we have to do to explore space. 4 things. The first one was we had to build machines that could climb above the atmosphere. In those days, that was delusionary. People didn't believe we could do that, but he did, and he convinced people like von Braun that that should be a goal that they should achieve. And the second thing was that we could escape Earth's gravity and travel beyond it. And the third thing was humans could actually live and work in space. And the fourth thing was we could actually make a profit doing it. You know, there's a humorist from the 40s named Will Rogers, and I love real Will Rogers. If you go back and look up some of his sayings, they're amazing. One of the things he said was, you know, it's not what we don't know that gets us in trouble. It's what we know that ain't so. And let me tell you what all of us know, each of us in this room, all of us in this industry know that the reason we're not exploring space with humans is it's too expensive. Let me tell you what, just like Will said, it ain't so. As a matter of fact, I can prove to you that that's not the problem. Lockheed Martin just bought Sikorsky helicopters, and that's a multi-billion-dollar business, and the biggest part of that business on the commercial side is flying people to deep oil wells. Do you know what it costs to build a deep oil well platform? Not just to fly people out on the helicopters back and forth. You have any idea? If you Google it, there were 3 oil platforms that were built for deep sea exploration in the North Sea. The combined cost of those 3 platforms was over $6 billion. It's the cost of a space shuttle. And you know what? They build those all the time. It's not that space is too expensive. The problem we have with space is closing the business case. Now, this I understand is the first time that you've been, Space Generation X has been to this commercial satellite conference. I can tell you that the commercial satellite business doesn't have a problem closing. It's a $150 billion a year industry. If you walk out here tomorrow with a good idea, or you can show an internet operator or you can show a satellite operator how to make a profit, a return on investment that we call ROIC, return on invested capital. If you can show him how to make an return on invested capital today, they will spend hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars to close that business case. And people walking around the halls today, I was in a meeting this morning, we were talking about satellites that were hundreds of millions of dollars. After you launch them, they're fractions of $1 billion. Where internet entrepreneurs are talking about investing billions of dollars in this case, but that's not for humans. Let me tell you why we don't have thousands of people in space today as we talk in the commercial satellite business. Very simple. Actually, I tried to go out and get a prop. I was going to Radio Shack, but guess what? They've been disrupted. They're not where I used to think they were. Amazon is about to put them out of business, but I wanted to get two things. I thought maybe I'd have some in my drawer. I rooted around. I'm certainly have seen these pieces of technology. Some of them, you have them in your houses, but it's two things. It's a transistor and a vacuum tube. When Arthur C. Clarke, the famous science fiction writer, did you know he also is credited with the Clarke orbit? Do you know what a Clarke orbit is? It's a geostationary orbit. Clarke envisioned that 3 commercial-type communication satellites in geostationary orbit, a Clarke orbit, basically could provide services to anyone in the world, anytime. 3 satellites could cover the whole world. Have a lot more than that, but what he also envisioned, we would need lots of humans in space because vacuum tubes burned out. When I was a kid, my dad would send me to the grocery store. They had a tube tester, and I'd take all the radio tubes out, and I'd plug them in, see which one was bad, and then basically get a new one, take it in, plug it in, solve the problem. Everyone assumed we had to have humans in space to do this because nothing was reliable enough to last for the 15 years that a satellite has to operate to be financially viable. Just wasn't going to happen. And then RCA, Bell Labs, invented the transistor. Basically, when's the last time you had something break? Very rare. TVs now last forever. And so we don't need humans in space to do the repair job that everybody envisioned that we would. So the problem that we have is not that space is too expensive. The problem that we have is closing the value chain for humans in space. We're trying to solve that problem on the International Space Station. We tried to find businesses, pharmaceuticals, things we can do in zero-G gravity, close that business case, and we haven't been able to. But it's not that space is too expensive. Billions of dollars are spent in many industries, the oil exploration just being one of them. The problem is closing the business case for what humans can do to add value. So let me leave you with this thought. If you want to go to Mars, if you want to go to space, and you don't want it to be a lottery where you're one in one of many billions of people who want to go, there's only one thing you have to do. You have to find the business case that basically connects humans in space to a value proposition. I can tell you that the men and women who dreamed in Space 1.0, the von Brauns, the Olbrichts, the Robert Goddards, they believed that case was there. And I believe you will find it. And when you do, come and see me because I know the guys who have the money. Thanks.
Thank you, Jim.